Get ready for a thrilling journey into the world of Crystal Lake, the highly anticipated new series based on the iconic Friday the 13th franchise. But be warned, this story takes a twist that will leave you on the edge of your seat. The journey to Crystal Lake, a complex road. It all began on Halloween 2022, when Bryan Fuller, the creator of Hannibal, announced his involvement in developing a Friday the 13th series titled Crystal Lake for A24 and Peacock. However, the path to production was far from smooth sailing. A lengthy writer's strike initially slowed progress, and then Fuller himself was replaced, creating a significant bump in the road. Despite these challenges, Crystal Lake has persevered through production, and we're here to uncover everything we know about this highly anticipated series. The first showrunner, Bryan Fuller's vision. When Crystal Lake was first announced, Bryan Fuller was at the helm, ready to steer the ship. Production was set to commence on July 22, 2024, with an ambitious 7 to 8 months of filming scheduled. The role of Pamela Voorhees was up for grabs, with Charlize Theron and Claire Danes both considered for the part. Vincenzo Natali and Kimberly Pierce were on board to direct episodes, and Peacock had allocated an impressive $85 million budget for the first season, consisting of 8 episodes. However, A24 decided to take the project in a different direction, moving forward without Fuller's involvement. So at this point, we're left wondering, what will Crystal Lake truly be? We have a glimpse of Fuller's vision, but the final product remains a mystery. The Fuller version, unveiling the details. Fuller's approach to the series was unique. He planned to deconstruct the first 4 Friday the 13th films in each season, incorporating elements from the sequels while putting his own spin on them, much like his work on Hannibal. He gathered a talented group of writers, including Kevin Williamson, known for his work on Scream, who was set to script an hour-long chase episode. The chase sequence was to be a thrilling affair, set entirely on a frozen Crystal Lake with summer camp cabins trapped under snowdrifts. The rights situation, unraveling the legal web. The Friday the 13th franchise has been in a legal standstill for years due to a copyright lawsuit between original producer-director Sean S. Cunningham and screenwriter Victor Miller. However, this lawsuit has recently come to an end, with Miller awarded the copyright to the 1980 classic within the United States, along with non-exclusive foreign rights. To bring the TV show to life, Miller has teamed up with his lawyer, Mark Toberoff, and Rob Barsanian, an investor in the original Friday the 13th, with a stake in the franchise. With their involvement, the makers of Crystal Lake have the freedom to utilize anything from the existing Friday the 13th franchise, from Mrs. Voorhees to every variation of Jason Voorhees. Fuller explained, "We can use everything. We can go to hell, we can go to space. That's not to say we will, but if we go 10 seasons, I'll be lobbying hard to go to space." A24 and Mark Toberoff have assembled all the Friday the 13th rights, and as a streaming series, we have the rights to do everything under the Friday the 13th umbrella. The movie rights are a different story, tied up at New Line and super messy. But for us in TV, we have access to anything and everything Friday the 13th has done up to this point. A24's expansion, embracing commercial projects. A24, known for its artistic and independent films, is expanding into more commercial projects, and Crystal Lake fits the bill. The idea of expanding the Friday the 13th franchise is appealing to them, as they seek to move into more mainstream territory. Fuller's approach to the material was to deconstruct the first 4 films in each season, incorporating the lore from the sequels in a similar fashion to his work on Hannibal. The writers, a talented think tank. When Fuller was at the helm, he was not only the showrunner, but also a writer for the show. He gathered a diverse group of writers, including his 3 lieutenants from previous shows like Hannibal, Pushing Daisies, and American Gods. The group also included Tommy Pico from the Reservation Dogs staff, Tananarive Due, an author and executive producer of Horror Noir, A History of Black Horror, and Stephen Barnes, an author and script contributor to shows like Stargate, SG-1, and The Outer Limits. Together, they formed a think tank to brainstorm ideas for the show over 6 weeks. Stephen Barnes described the process as the weaving together of a dozen different threads, the epitome of the plotter technique. Tananarive Due was in awe of the room's ability to swim in the same direction peacefully, changing course when Fuller gave the word. The goal was to integrate with the mastermind, which in this case was Fuller himself. The music, a classic versus modern score. Harry Manfredini, the creator of the iconic "Ki Ki Ki Ma Ma Ma" sound effect, composed scores for most of the Friday the 13th films. For Crystal Lake, Fuller planned to offer fans a choice between a classic Harry Manfredini score and a modern score when watching the series on Peacock. The pre-remakeule, a unique take. When Crystal Lake was first announced, it was described as a prequel to the films. However, Fuller preferred to call it a pre-remakeule, a term that leaves us curious about its meaning. He later clarified that the series would cover the life and times of Pamela Voorhees and Jason Voorhees, with many familiar manifestations of Jason throughout the series. Fuller also promised a murderous series, dropping bodies every episode, and a distinctive look, much like his work on Hannibal. Multiple seasons, a commitment to the story. Peacock has given Crystal Lake a full season commitment, with a penalty if they don't proceed with a second season, essentially locking in 2 seasons. Fuller had mapped out 4 seasons of the show, and when it was announced, he shared his excitement about exploring the campgrounds of Crystal Lake under the A24 banner. The new showrunner, Brad Caleb Kane, steps in. Despite the challenges, A24 remains committed to making Crystal Lake, which is said to be very important to Peacock. After a 3-month search, the showrunner role went to Brad Caleb Kane, who also serves as co-showrunner and executive producer of It, Welcome to Derry, the It prequel series coming to HBO next year. Kane will be credited as creator, writer, and executive producer of Crystal Lake. Kane hasn't revealed his plans for the series, but he shared his excitement about contributing to the iconic franchise, particularly with partners like Peacock and A24. The cast. Familiar faces and new talent. When Fuller was involved, only one cast member was announced, Adrienne King, who played final girl Alice Hardy in the original film and returned for the opening sequence of Friday the 13th Part 2. King will have a recurring role on Crystal Lake, but it's unclear if she'll remain involved now that Fuller has moved on. Another actress, Linda Cardellini, has been offered the role of Pamela Voorhees and accepted it. William Catlett, known for Black Lightning, will play Levon Brooks, the chief of police in Crystal Lake. The cast also includes Devin Kessler, Cameron Scoggins, Gwendolyn Sundstrom, Nancy Nagrant, Victoria Russell, Natalie Shaw, Austin Colby, Joy Soprano, Danielle Koch, Phoenix Parnevik, Callum Vinson, Zachary Branch, and Nick Cordeleone. These actors will portray a mix of legacy characters from the original film and new additions to the franchise. Production directors bringing the vision to life. Filming for Crystal Lake began on June 18th in West Milford, New Jersey, and lasted through November 21st. The show is set in the 1970s, with specific references to the year 1971. Casting calls were sent out for teens, summer camp kids, experienced lifeguards, and camp counselors for canoeing and archery. Directors for the series include Michael Lennox, Celine Held and Logan George, and Quen Tran. The show was filmed under the codename Mama's Boy, with summer camp scenes in West Milford, New Jersey, lake scenes in Ringwood, New Jersey, and downtown Crystal Lake scenes in Blairstown, New Jersey, just like in the original movie. Some filming also took place in South Orange Village. The premiere. Coming soon to Peacock. Crystal Lake is set to premiere on Peacock sometime in 2026, with Sky and its streaming service now bringing the series to the UK and Ireland. That's everything we know about Crystal Lake at this point, but stay tuned for more details as they emerge. We'll keep you updated here on Joe Blow and Arrow in the Head.